celebrating our 20th season. From the college by the lake, meeting the personalities and discussing the issues that affect all of Coeur d'Alene and the inland Northwest. We are the North Idaho College Public Forum. And now, here's your host and moderator, political scientist Tony Stewart.
Our subject today is telemedia communications and services. That's a very technical name. It's a real revolution in communications in this country, and you may have noticed lately on our program there's been a lot of changes in our set and in the quality of our production, because we've had really a technological revolution at our college with some real great breakthroughs in what we describe as telemedia services. We have two guests today, and I'm so fortunate to have these guests. They're very close friends, and they are very professional experts, and they are responsible for this great advancement with their professionalism. First of all, I welcome to the program Darren Cheney, who serves as the North Idaho College Director of the Telemedia Services at our institution. He is also, I'm proud to say, the executive producer of the North Idaho College TV Public Forum. Darren, welcome to the program, and we'll have another staff person on the last half of the program. As I introduced you, we are delighted that you are at North Idaho College and that you're showing this leadership, and it's through that leadership that we have had this exciting step forward. And if you're going to stay up in this country, in this world, you have to do these things. It's really the future. Would you start by telling us what on earth do we mean by terms such as telemedia services, telemedia communications? How would you define that?
To define what telemedia services is, you take a look at any mass communication or media that's anywhere. You turn on your TV at home and you watch some image. Telemedia is basically a term that we use on our campus to mean non-print, anything that's electronic medium. It could be a visual medium, it could be an auditory medium, hearing, seeing, those kind of things. Something that's not an actual book that you can pick up or hold. And
so with that type of communication, it takes on many different facets, and on our campus, and certainly in relation to off-campus, and then, of course, other institutions and organizations around the country would use that. I know I've heard you before discuss the components, and many viewers are like I have been over the years. What are we talking about? So would you break that down into each component and explain what that is and how that is used?
Well, Tony, there are several different types of telemedia, those of which we're very, very familiar with. We use various forms here. We're a facility that we provide instructional support for the campus. And what we do is we use traditional audiovisual equipment, which is our first type of telemedia. We use traditional overhead projectors to project an image onto a screen. We also use slides, photography. If an instructor has some artwork that would like to be photographed, it can be shown as slides later on. We can take that one step further, and we can take those slides and we can go ahead and package those into a slideshow, something that they can play with music and see images. Moving on the scale up higher and higher.
You're starting with the most
simple
process
all the way up to the most technical process. You take a look at the next step, and that is video production. Actually going out and with a camera being able to record an image and play it back on a TV as it actually took place at that time.
A lot of home videos being done too.
In fact, we're using a lot of that same technology here in the classroom. For example, in our speech department, we're having speeches videotaped. The students are videotaped as they give their speech. That way they have an opportunity to review it at a later time and find out exactly how they're improving. You go from video on up into the new area that we have here on this campus, which is brand new. It's only been here for about a year, and that is the area of telecommunications. We have the capabilities within our facilities to bring a program off of a satellite off the sky. If you take a look at any of the cable programming, or you're possibly even watching this at home on cable, what you have is most of those channels come off of particular satellites. And we have that capability to bring in those programs and record those.
And if I can interrupt, a lot of universities all over the United States that are doing this, and we can all hook up at the same time, and audiences everywhere can be hearing the same program and interchange in those.
That's correct. We also have the capability with some other systems that we have in the state to be able to actually have a live interactive class between this campus and say a campus at Moscow or a campus at Lewiston or Boise or Twin Falls.
At the same time, at telemedia courses.
Correct. Correct.
And those students at each of those centers over a screen can see the instructor and other students, and it's, even though they're in different cities, it's a classroom interchanging at any time among any of those students and the instructor.
For example, this semester we've facilitated 3 courses, 1 course for the University of Idaho and 2 for Lewis Clark State College. And we had an instructor and students in Lewiston teaching a class, and we had students here in Coeur d'Alene watching that class, and they interacted live.
And our telemedia center is in the library. We'll get to that in a minute, but we have our new library, so we have the ability to do that.
Right. You can also take a look at, just besides those mediums, but even the simple things that we have sitting on our desktop, a computer, telephone lines that we have running into all of our homes and businesses. There are ways that you can actually use that technology as well in order to share ideas and resources and information. So as you see from a gamut, from all the way from traditional audio-visual equipment to simple images and sound all the way up to the most complex. Whatever way that you deliver that information, that is only a tool. But what's most important and what we put our focus here is then on the information, the message that's being delivered. There's
3 terms you hear a lot in doing all of this process that's so common and not explained. At an institution like ours, you hear about uplink and downlink and satellite use. Would you share that with our viewers? I mean, you've already talked about how we can do that, but technically, what are you saying when you use those terms?
Those are technical terms that we use within the business, you know, our buzzwords that we use, as you will. When you talk about the most common, which is a receive site, okay? If you're driving around in the countryside and you take a look and you see that there are satellite dishes next to somebody's home, that's a receive site. What it is it's an actual antenna that can receive a signal off of a satellite that's put up in geocentric orbit. That's what's known as a receive site. It's a one-way communication medium. The information is produced. For example, if this show was to be actually produced, it could be sent live up to a satellite, and then anyone who was tuned into that satellite and frequency could also then view that program. Well, what that is being used today in education, and very, very close to home over in Spokane, there are courses that are being taught, high school courses, that are then uplinked to a satellite, and then school districts that cannot afford to have a teacher to teach those particular courses can receive those classes, and the students can benefit then from the instruction. That's one way. The second way is microwave technology, which is here. If you take a look on the newscast and you see that there's a live report coming from, you know, the foothills, or there's a fire somewhere, or we're reporting live from City Hall, that's usually a microwave link, just a short distance point-to-point communication that only those 2 points can communicate. On this campus, we use that kind of system, a system that's developed by the Idaho Educational Public Broadcasting System within our state, that we have the capability then to use that point-to-point communication to go to anywhere of the 6 institutions in the state.
So you really arrived when you can do both. You can receive, but you can also send.
Correct.
And so that's one of our breakthroughs here at North Idaho College. In fact, recently we did a program where we had guests here and in Moscow at the same time.
Exactly, yeah.
And you're saving lots of money because people don't have to travel, or like in the case of a small school where you can't even afford a program. You really are widening education. That brings me to my next question. That is, you're so articulate in dealing with this issue here at North Idaho College, but it would apply other places too. What is our mission in the use of this technology?
Well, the mission of my department is instructional support. We are a professional shop, if so to speak. And what we do here is to help facilitate the instruction for the campus. If an instructor has an idea that would like to present that in a visual or auditory way, we can help them with that. If they want to present that message to more than one location, one site, or receive that information from one site, then we help them with that. But our first and foremost goal is instruction.
I am excited about your statement of mission in the sense that on campus, where we used to be mostly in instruction, we can serve those students of all ages who come here, and you just give them extra tools for the instructors. But we reach out through like the telemedia courses. I've always thought of this program as an important educational tool. That is, we can go into Canada and the Northwest with guests that we have from all over the country. They're here to share their ideas with our students and staff and faculty, but why not share them with a larger community I often talk about the whole world as a classroom and other areas that I'm involved in. We talk about that in some organizations. So your work and your contributions, along with the legislature, the governor, and the boards of education, all makes this education a reality on a much higher plane. Darren, something else that I wanted to use this program to do, you've already enlightened the viewers so much about what we can do and serve. I am so excited about the new facilities, and I know in a minute on the screen we're going to go to some photographs that you have taken so that they can get the visual idea. Explain to us now, with just about a month ago, the completion of these new technical components at North Dakota College. Kind of walk us through what we have as we show the viewers those photographs.
Well, the first thing, to go ahead and take a look at, and what's most impressive, is our new library facility. It was just completed in September. In fact, we won't even have an open house probably until April. That facility was designed to do many, many things. First and foremost, to be able to hold library holdings and information and resources that way. The computer center is also inside that students can come and utilize the computers and equipment. And then we also have our telecommunications classroom. And what this classroom is designed is to fulfill that mission, to reach out, to be able to provide information. The State Board of Education has stated that it's very, very important to reach out to the individuals within the state and to provide access for those people who are place-bound that can't go to another location or to get education, a way then that they can receive more and more education.
And so here you're showing the control room you need and
Correct.
The classroom and all the kind of technical equipment we have in place.
Which the classroom houses about $300,000 worth of equipment. It is very expensive. What it does is it allows the possibility for the full two-way interaction between the other site.
But it's really inexpensive in the sense that you have people at many different sites without that many professors and travel.
Well, if you take a look at it this way, we're not, to be able to deliver two-way interactive courses is not to get fewer and fewer and fewer instructors, but to be able to utilize what the master teaches.
We've got to move over to the other building now and show what we use here in the public forum.
Well, at the same time, when we just completed this facility, the old facility, when we got some monies, one-time critical needs money, that we went in and we did a total remodel into our studio and then especially into our control room. That we brought our equipment up to broadcast standards, to today's standards.
And it's computerized?
It's computerized. We have a lot of capabilities that we wouldn't have before. We have brand new chip cameras. They use a computer chip that senses the light rather than old tubes. We have a routing system within the control room that it only takes a push of a button and things that we preset are already there. Everything is laid out now in a very professional way.
I'm going to have to interrupt. That's really very informative, and we're going to go now to some tape or video that our next guest, Lindy Turner, did for us to show what we can do with video and our doing here. This is a segment dealing with a promotion of North Dakota College that he did, and he'll be our next guest. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll let you take a look at that tape now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what you have just seen is some outstanding video that was done by Lindy Turner, who's our next guest. Lindy, welcome to the program.
Thanks.
As I said about Darren, we're so delighted to have Lindy on board as a staff person. He's extremely professional, and his title at North Idaho College is Instructional Media Specialist, and he did this production that we just saw. I'm also happy to report he's the producer, director of the North Idaho College public forum that we're on now, and he's behind the scenes week after week. Lindy, you heard Darren's comments about what we can do with telemedia services at North Idaho College, and one of the areas that he identified was video production. So we left for you to talk about in more detail, because that's what our viewers are often seeing, and they do a lot of this in their homes and so forth. I'll ask you in a basic way, what do we mean by video production, and how do we define that?
Well, I think the way that I would define it, really, Tony, is an assembling of mechanical means with an idea, and which is we kind of look from the backside of an idea. We take a concept, we break down what we want to say, and then we use the medium of picture and audio to come up with something, and using video techniques is coming up with a way to say that, so that what the viewer sees in his end result is the total conclusion to the outline that we create.
So it's a tool, it's a medium that we use to educate again. I keep
Right.
emphasizing that. But you're using both audio and video. We hear a lot about some people are visual learners and some people learn through the audio method. And video has that great power of allowing you to do both, doesn't it?
We remember a tremendous amount of what we see. And while we hear things, and students are always listening to lectures, always taking notes, to have something visual to identify with just further enhances it. Matter of fact, when we do video production, the visual representation of what we're trying to say always comes first when we create something, because that visual medium always sticks with the person a little bit more. And it's interesting because media centers at colleges have been around a long time, and at schools and in school districts, and we often think about the media center as the dusty old closet where the teacher goes and gets their equipment. But the video revolution, which has been around for, late 40s, is when the video revolution started taking hold, and live television has finally reached the schools to where it is such a must in the classroom, because there are so many resources out there for us to get that if we don't get it, we're just letting education pass us by.
Let's use some examples. And some of the smaller schools that might be listening may not have that equipment yet, but here at North Idaho College you do a lot of this. If you walked into a classroom and an instructor is using the overhead, and it's one instrument, and they have an old slide projector, and they show 30 slides during the lecture, tell us how that's different from when you walk in with this video production. Give us a visual picture of what that would be.
Well, the whole idea of using video production in the classroom is just to facilitate the learning process, as it always has, but in a more swift fashion. We're into the information age now, and the whole idea behind video production is to be able to use that knowledge quickly and get it to the student in a swift, effective way. I don't know how many teachers we get caught, they're still using the old slide films, and slowly they're getting away from that. They get clogged. We have mechanical problems with old machinery that's been used so long, 60mm projectors. But just having a monitor and a VCR in a classroom allows a teacher to present their information so quickly. They can just pop the cassette in and go, and they can use it for presentation purposes. For that information, they can use an information resource like Darren talked about, which is wonderful at NIC. We've got a wonderful catalog of those things. And also for documentation in the class. You can videotape a class a lot better than you can do a slide film on what's happening and then play back a speech or something of that nature.
You just save so much time. You don't have all that set up. Like you said, you just put in the video and turn it on.
Oh yeah, it's quick.
And then also, I'm thinking about a lot of times if you're using the old method, you show slides and you've got to break that down, then put up something else. You might want to show some photographs. You might want to use, you just lose so much time. You can incorporate within that video, can you not, from cameras themselves recording video. You can put slides in, you can put photographs in, you can put music. You can put a production together, like a 30-minute production, that throughout that you would have all those different mediums that you would use in one piece without any break, and a sequence and consistency, can't you?
Right, and the most effective thing
about video as a technology is when we talk about multimedia, which has been already mentioned before, taking all of those resources and putting them together in a show does take a lot of time.
Yes.
And for an instructor who's thinking about using more of video in their classroom, they are overwhelmed by the technology. But for example, at NIC, we're here for the teachers, and if they can come up with an idea and we have the resources to put it all together, which by and large we do, we can make a multimedia production. Initially, it's very cumbersome because there's all the information, the slides, the pictures that we have to put to video. But the end product is something very more individualized and specialized to that individual teacher's taste and performance than something that they would order from the factory outlet to teach, on how to dissect a frog or something.
I really made an omission. I was talking as an educator. For us, the final product is just put the video in the VCR. But
That's right.
From your perspective, it's not quick. There's
Yeah.
tremendous production, and some of those
Right.
they're well done. So it's just the end product that's fast for the teacher.
That's right. It is more cumbersome, but I really feel like it's more well worth it. And something that's customized by you is generally going to last you a long time. It won't get dated as quick.
You're in this role now in the field of education at an institution of higher learning, but you've also had valuable experience in the commercial field. In fact, you worked in Spokane for Pinnacle a good long while. And so I want you to talk a little bit about the needs and desires of business or the commercial end and how that's very different from using that video in the educational institution.
Well, the fact that it's commercially driven video in the public sector is the whole reason why we have the neat TV effects that we have. It's the whole reason why we have satellites up there and MTV. It's commercial. People always make the video to sell it. The two main sources are entertainment and advertising, and the advertising pays for the entertainment end, which gets the person to watch in the first place, so it perpetuates itself.
Otherwise, they'd have to pay for all of those at
That's
home,
right.
those shows.
It's getting a little disgusting with cable TV because I don't want to knock our cable people, but we're having to pay for it anyway.
Yeah.
But
If you didn't have those commercials, you'd pay more.
right, but it is driven by that. And in the educational sense, we're seeing more and more in the classroom, but it's taken a while to get it there because we're not commercially driven. We're driven by our educational needs, and sometimes we have a habit of sitting back on our laurels and using the technologies of the past. When the prices have come down in video, that's another thing that the private sector or the commercial sector has done is it has caused cameras to be cheaper. Our monitors and our set things, our lighting, all those things have become cheaper and cheaper because the technology to get the very best keeps escalating, and the stuff down below that is perfectly good to use, like on a program like this or in the classroom, is starting to get more affordable.
But you said to me the other day something that's really intriguing, and you just hinted at it right here, and that is that in education sometimes we're slower to recognize the latest technology, or it may not be slow to recognize it, sometimes funding and
Right.
that problem too.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
but you indicated in your work in the commercial world that they're very innovative. Can you give an example of some of the things that they're doing that we are beginning to or should be tapping in the educational world, how they can use that medium with a real creativity that also could trigger the student's mind in a more energetic and exciting way?
I think pre-production is a skill that a producer knows and a writer knows and a director knows that is inherent in every class, but it's done on a mechanical basis in TV. Guys like Bill Raditz in Spokane, some of the guys at Pinnacle that taught me so much, taught me to start out and follow through with a project, but the most important thing is that pre-planning and that creativity that goes on ahead of time. Thousands of dollars are spent every year on a commercial basis finding out what ticks in the human psyche, finding out what is it that's going to make the person I'm trying to approach, what makes them perk up and listen, what affects that subconscious. And those people spend thousands of dollars doing that.
Researching that to find that
Yes,
out too.
and if we can find out what our students need and what has worked the best in the past, and to really plan out, not to say, Lindy, we want a video production, just come out and videotape this and then we'll hash it together, cut it together and put some music to it. But to really get behind what they're trying to teach and do some real instructional design. It's a tremendous effort, but it turns out wonderful because it approaches the person directly and it makes such an impact.
You made that so clear. I hear what you're saying, that if you're doing a commercial for a soft drink company or whatever it is. And if that's going to sell, you've got to find out how to get the message to the consumer. Here in education, sometimes we'll say, not as sensitive, oh, the student will get it anyway. But if you really tune in on what they want, it's the same principle, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they are
and then
consumers.
they'll learn better, because they're obviously consumers too.
That's right. They're absorbing everything that you say, and they're either going to take it or to lose it. And we all have our habit of tuning things out.
So I've had the pleasure of working with you, and thank you. We did 3 shows on this program that was taken from the Kootenai County Task Force on Human Relations concerning that 90-minute documentary. And I watched you. You worked with the writer of the script. You worked with me as the producer of the documentary, and you were the technical advisor and producer. And it's a team effort, and if you don't have all of that, the message won't get through. And if we don't listen to you as a professional about how best to deliver that message, and then you in turn will listen, well, what is the message you're trying to send?
That's right.
It's a team effort, isn't it?
It is, and it really can't be done effectively otherwise. It's just, it's impossible. There are so many things, pieces of information that we have to cram into a show like this in 30 minutes, that without the prior planning involved, it's impossible.
You've really helped educators today by saying, don't come to me and expect from me in 30 minutes to come over and just tape something. All that happens sometimes in a particular class, but if you really want that to be delivered in the most high quality for maximum education, we're going to have some preparation, we're going to have some production, and you're going to be willing to commit some time and effort.
That's right, and it's all going to be worth it.
Yeah. And of course, we always get into the dollars issue, and you can only do so much with so many dollars for at a particular period of time. So there is the question of priorities too, isn't there?
That's right. To administrators and presidents of colleges and anyone who decides where funding goes, they need to seriously take a look, not just to say we're going to bring education into the 21st century, but we're going to do it, and we're going to use the means that we have available to us.
Lindy, we're just about out of time, and I want to thank you and Darren both for being on the program today. It's been extremely informative, and it's because of you and Darren that we have this really professional development and this great step forward. And again, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Tony.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know you have found our program very informative today, and it shows you what we're able to do here because of this professional staff we have and this new technology. I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to be with us again next week when we shall discuss an important issue. Until then, please have a good week. I am Tony Stewart.
The North Idaho College Public Forum was videotaped live from the studios of Telemedia Services on the campus of North Idaho College for viewing at this more appropriate time. We invite you to join us again next week for another all-new edition of the North Idaho College Public Forum on this public television station.